Our app is coming along nicely. We are able to get data from the network and account for situations where there is an error by giving the user an alert dialog to let them know. This makes for a much nicer user experience thus far. But what happens if we are trying to use the network when it isn't available? No data will be displayed, of course, which isn't a great user experience. However, a different exception is thrown that we can handle and turn it into a positive user experience. We should check to see if the network is available before we make a network call. If it is, we can proceed. If not, let's provide a message letting them know the network isn't available. Looking inside the onCreate method, we see that we are creating and executing a background thread to do our network operations. We can add our check for network availability inside there with an if statement. Let's create a new method to handle our network check as well, and use it in a condition for our if statement. Here, after we've defined our forecast URL, let's add an if statement, and then we can leverage some of Android Studio's quick fix help to complete it. So if network available, and then our closing parentheses will be right down here of our log statement, and everything gets tabbed in. Nice. If we click on Is Network Available and hit Alt-Enter, we see the Quick Fix menu. Let's click on the Create Is Network Available method option. Nice. Android Studio creates a private method for us, which is great. It has given it a return type of Boolean, which is exactly what we want. Remember that we are using this inside a conditional check, so we'll want it to evaluate to true or false. Inside our method, we'll be setting the return value based on the network availability. There is an Android class called Connectivity Manager that we can use. So Connectivity Manager. We'll call it Manager. And then get System Service. The parameter we need to pass into get system service is the name of the service in string format. We can use a constant string from the context class here. Context, connectivity service. We see here that there is an error about incompatible types. The get system service method is returning a generic object, so we need to cast it to Connectivity Manager. Fortunately, there's a quick fix for this too. Hit Alt-Enter, and Android Studio will take care of the casting for us. Very cool. Next, we need to instantiate a network info object. Down on the next line, network info, Alt-Enter for our imports, Manager, get active network info. And it looks like there's a permissions error here for access network state. We should probably look in the documentation for this get active network info method and see what it has to say. It's always a good idea to check the documentation about methods we are using for the first time. We see here in the Android docs that we need to add this access network state to our Android manifest file. Let's head over there and add that permission in. Go to Android manifest, uses permission, and we want Android permission, access network state, and close our tag. If we weren't aware of this permission issue, we probably would have written our code, ran our app, and seen an error that the permission was missing. Fortunately, permission error messages are typically pretty helpful. Remember back to that internet permission error we saw earlier. This is where logcat is great. Okay, we can now go back to main activity and our isNetworkAvailable method. Let's make a new variable called isAvailable, and we'll make it of Boolean type. In keeping with best practices when declaring variables, let's set this to false. Great. Now inside this method, we'll check to see if the network is available, and if so, set isAvailable to true. We can use an if statement here for that check. So if. Now, what do we want to check here exactly? We want to check if there's a network, and if it's connected to the internet. We can check multiple conditions on network info using the AND operator. So if network info is not equal to null, and network info is connected, in that case, isAvailable will be true. So if both of those conditions are true, we can safely set our isAvailable variable to true. Outside our if statement, then, we can return isAvailable. If we now look at our onCreate method, we can make sense of our if statement for the network check. When the condition is checked and isNetworkAvailable returns true, meaning the network and internet is available, our HTTP request will run. What if the network isn't available, though? Our HTTP request won't run, and our application won't crash. But the user doesn't know that yet. We should let the user know that the network isn't available. Perhaps they have airplane mode turned on, or need to do something else to get back online. It would be great to let them know there's an issue. Let's just add a simple toast message for the user. So back down here. So else. We'll do a toast. We'll just tell them, sorry, the network is unavailable. Length long, and show. And that line's a little long, so let's bring that down. While we're here, let's extract this string to a string resource and call it network unavailable message. Extract string resource, network unavailable message. And again, we can get that pop-up by hitting Alt-Enter on a string. Okay, for an extra challenge, see if you can make this message into a dialog fragment, just like our other error message. Great. We're checking for network availability and handling the errors. Let's test it to make sure all is working as planned. When we run our app, we should see our data in logcat. And there's our data. If we look at our emulator and turn on airplane mode, stop and restart Stormy, and there's our toast. Our app is off to a great start. We are successfully handling errors and getting weather data from the internet. Now, not to rain on our success, but there's a bit more work to be done to actually do something with our data. Let's take a look at that in the next stage.